medical system basically sets people like my brother up to fail. It's so dehumanizing. He's like pinned down and injected.
Man.
And there were no changes to his diet. He was fed the worst food. And it's just a constant cycle of meds, off meds, jail.
Damn, Brad.
There's a lot of him that's gone. He doesn't speak anymore. Sometime in the last 3 years, he stopped speaking. So when he's out of the hospital and he has his phone, we will communicate through text, or he'll write something in his notes app and show me. In the hospital, he doesn't have his phone, especially in an involuntary hold. So he has a little notepad. And so we, sat for an hour talking and writing things back and forth. But I've had to, I think, let go of the hope that he'll be who I knew as a kid. I don't think that's fully gone. There's always part of me that's like, what if? If he did psychedelics. If he woke up one day and said, I'm going to change my diet, I'm going to change my lifestyle. And this is the thing that's so infuriating, is our medical system basically sets people like my brother up to fail. And it's this endless cycle where without his meds, he's a danger to society. But with the meds, they're debilitating. And he's so unhappy. And they pump him, through. It's so dehumanizing. He's like pinned down and injected. And they cause, paralysis and tremors and, whatever it may be. Some of them are really scary, had cardiac effects with, our history was so scary. And nobody ever talks about diet or lifestyle or other options. He was in an involuntary hold in Idaho for almost 3 years. I didn't see him for 3 years. He stopped speaking somewhere in there, which I don't blame him. These places they're not like pretty rehab places. There aren't places like that. There isn't a place where he can go, like live safely in like a nice assisted living rehab. If there is, somebody should let me know. They're like really shitty halfway houses or psych facilities where you can't leave, where you have no rights. And so I don't blame him for shutting down, but you're put on these meds because you can't function without them, and you're given the crappiest food. And I was so angry just like last month, that I'm his guardian, by the way. That was another thing we dealt with last year of, we had to fight for so many years, my mom did, to get information about him. I mean, he would be arrested, taken to hospitals. We have no idea where he is. He would be switched from doctor to doctor to doctor, literally like trying to chase him down to get information, not in like a, we need you back, but of like, how could we help you? We don't even know where you are. And so we finally were approved guardianship, and Reed knows, and I think he was happy that it was me. But he trusts me a lot, which I'm really grateful for. But though he was released from this involuntary hold, and he had a halfway house and seemed to be doing better. But, I was talking with my mom, and it was in Idaho, it was in Boise. He only got to Tennessee recently. It was a whole other situation. He kind of accidentally got here. I kind of think maybe it was a God thing, because my mom and I had been talking. If like, it'd be really great if he could get close to you. And he just went missing one day and showed up in Tennessee. So, worked out. But the point being, he was there for 3 years. He stopped speaking. And there were no changes to his diet. He was fed the worst food. His hospital food. I was in visiting hours last week, and we were given like crappy cartons of milk and like Teddy Grahams. And all these studies are coming out about, the effects of carbs and sugar on the brain, and this has been happening for years, of, keto diets being instrumental in keeping schizophrenia at bay. And we have people that have literally removed the voices from their brains, have been able to now, they live totally normal lives, are in relationships, are getting married by living a very, very strict lifestyle and diet. And no doctor has encouraged that. And it's such a missed opportunity. It's like he was there for 3 years and he came out worse.
Man.
And now we're back to square one, and it's this awful cycle of, again, of course he's getting worse. Like, you go into these places, I've been visiting him for years at various different hospitals. It's awful. It's prison. It's maximum security. Of like, in order to go back and visit him, I go through like mazes of hallways and doors and keys and whatever, and I can't even bring him like socks. Like, you're not allowed to bring anything in because they could harm themselves. Like, it's like, again, I look at him, I'm like, no wonder you stopped speaking. But what other option is there? And we've brought him home. He's lived with me. He's lived with my mom. He's lived on the farm. He's tried everything. And it's just a constant cycle of meds, off meds, jail, hospital, out. Meds, off meds. And I don't know if no idea if that'll change. But you kind of have to find peace with the fact that maybe that's just, again, going back to like, this is the reality. And it's not what I hope for him, it's not what I hope for our family, but I've, found peace in that. And I want him to know that I'm never not going to be there. It's like, even if it's 3 years, if you end up in Tennessee in your first week in an involuntary hold, I'll be there. And I think he feels a lot of shame because we went through hell together, and I've seen a lot of things that I think he never wanted me to see. And he's done things to me that I think he's incredibly embarrassed of. And we don't really talk about it. But I've tried to let him know as many times as possible without getting into it that it's like, I know it's not you. I'm still going to show up. And it's even harder for my mom. But with, I don't want to put words in her mouth, but I think that it would be very easy for her to let go. Easier. And just to say, you're not trying to make any changes in your life. You are taking advantage of us. You don't want to use the time when you were on meds and you're doing better to try to change something in your lifestyle, to do anything. You would refuse therapy. Like, you would only go to therapy if I went with him. So we did that for a while together, but I had to go with him. And I think that, my oldest brother has always advocated more of like, let him go. If he wants to do a shit ton of drugs, if he wants to go be crazy and not accept help, let him go be crazy. You can't control that. And I think my mom is like, I'm not a parent yet. I don't know what that feels like, but she already lost one. So she's tried to let go. She's done it a ton of times of like, get out of the house. Like, if you're going to act this way, go be homeless, because you can't do this under my roof, which she should have done. And I give her so much credit for 10 years later. She shows up. He's at a halfway house and he needs a new set of clothes and a new, bedroom, because he has a little room in his halfway house. She goes and gets it.
Damn, Brad. How do you stay so strong?
I don't know. I think there's not a beauty, but there's kind of an advantage to this going on for my whole life, basically. to where I don't see this as some catastrophe every time something happens. Which seems like a really fucked up thing to say. But it's like, at this point, it's like, okay, that's life. I'll handle it. I don't have to say it's normal. Because it's not. My family's not normal. My relationship with my brother is far from what I would hope or want. But I think I learned really, really early